Welcome to Money Matters, your real estate lender combo show, really to talk about the benefits of this strategic relationship and how it can add value to your home buying process. So I'm Kevin Hunter, your North Texas home hunter.
Bryan Connatser, Cardinal Financial, mortgage loan originator and financial consultant. So
there you go. So what we're talking about today is making your wish list, right? So when you're sitting down, you've gone through some of the iterative processes, right? You're already kind of beginning, right? You've gone through the interview process with your realtors. You found the one who you feel like is a good fit for you, personality-wise, how they're going to work with you and partner, making sure that's a good fit. And then once you realize, okay, this is the one I want to go find my home with, kind of the same with a lender, right? You want to get that early in the process, making sure you can do some soft credit pulls. You know, it's not going to hit your credit report, but just understand, hey, here's the range what you should be looking in, right? So once you get through there, you really want to start thinking about, okay, how do I find our home, right? How do we find the one that's going to be good for mom and dad and the kids and the dog and right everybody, right? Big yard, pool, schools, whatever. So as you start going through that process, you're going to make a wish list, right? And we have a little magic binder. So all the steps of selling or buying are in here. So it's one of the things I give to my clients and provide to them to make sure they have all those steps and that we're going through each one kind of methodically to make sure that we're set up for success. But, what we're talking about today really is what do home buyers want for their home and how do they build that list?
and you got to get granular. I mean, you got to talk about, or think about potential commutes to work, maybe potential commutes to church, maybe potential commutes to kid activities, other family activities, proximity to other family. You got to take into consideration whether you want to be around a golf course. I mean, that's a big deal. Whether you want to have your rear entry, for that matter, is, a lot of houses in today's world, even in beautiful neighborhoods, they're eliminating the alley. And I know we've actually had some clients recently that were specific to wanting a rear entry garage. So, do you need workspace for one or both of the family, the parents? Do you want a dedicated playroom, or can an extra bedroom suffice for that dedicated space? But like you also mentioned, pets are a big deal. I mean, what if you don't have any room for that pet to move around? I mean, then does that fit for you? Are you comfortable with multiple walks a day? Does somebody work from home and can take care of that? So really got to drill down, age of home, maybe size of tree, number and size of trees in the yards. But a client of ours he actually didn't want a back neighbor. So he was looking for something on a green belt, and they found something over in Carrollton, and it's a really nice find. And he actually recently texted me a picture. They have a deer. They're over in Carrollton.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So, but anyway, just things like that are things to take into consideration whenever you're making your wish list.
Yeah. So I like some of the things that you hit on, right? So, as you kind of break it down, what part of town do you want to live in, right? And I think a lot of people drive that based on where do we work, right? Mm-hmm. And so COVID has kind of changed all that, right? Because it used to be, maybe somebody worked from home periodically, right? So one office space was enough. But now, a lot of companies are kind of going to flex schedules. They're letting people work from home on Thursday, Fridays. And so now houses really need to have almost two areas where you can work, right? Maybe somebody works at home more often than the other. And so maybe they need a true dedicated office, but the other may need somebody who, an office where they can just kind of plug in, get to a desk, right? And they're not just kind of, making do on a kitchen table or something like that, right?
Yep.
So that's really important, right? So, kind of really adapting to today's modern work environments. Are you close to a job? Will the house really kind of set up for that? You talk about dogs, right? We've got a couple of large animals, and they need a lot of yard to kind of stretch their legs. So, one of my friends talks about, she's a realtor, and she talks. Her tagline is, "I find backyards for dogs," right? So it kind of takes the shift away from the buyers per se. But yeah, I mean, when you think about the relationship that people have with their pets,
I understand.
They call them fur babies, right?
Absolutely.
You've got 5 cats and 5 dogs. So I kid. But yeah, I mean, that can be, you know, if you got a small dog, you don't need a big yard, right?
Right.
Some people I've seen switch to artificial grass, right?
Yeah, actually, I've seen that as well.
So running the sprinklers, keeping it clean, but a lot easier to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
And as you start making that wish list, obviously you want to start working with your realtor to say, hey, here's the criteria that I want you to use in that search, right? Do you want the house facing a certain direction, right? It's becoming more and more important, and it really matters to people.
Especially if you have an outdoor living area in the backyard. I mean, how much of that sun do you want in the afternoons and evenings?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, what impact is it going to have on your garden, flowers, trees, et cetera? So, and shade and so all that. Yeah. So when you really start creating that list, partnering with a realtor who's going to be able to utilize that criteria to make sure that you're capturing, you know, hey, we don't want any wood panels in there. Boom. Right. And if we want pier and beam versus a slab, you know, whatever, to the kind of the minutiae, if you will, right? I mean, the big ones, pools, you know, year built, all that kind of stuff is easy, but making sure you can kind of drill down into, and we're starting to see, you know, the market, at least in North Texas, is starting to move more towards the sellers, right? It's been buyers for years, but now inventory is starting to kind of pop back up a little bit.
Right.
The interest rates are really kind of intimidating people, right? Unless they're working with someone like you and Cardinal Financial, where you can really drill down into, hey, strategically, here's what we can do to put you in a good place.
Right. And they are affecting affordability for sure. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. At the same time, they're not always going to stay where they're at. And I'm actually celebrating 29 years in the business today.
Wow.
I've seen 4 recessions. I've seen rates go up. I've seen rates come down about 7 times. This is actually the second highest I've seen the rates since I've been in the business. But we have a lot of indicators that are telling us that, you know, in the near future, we'll start to see them cool down. And that may be a topic for a different time, but I still want to go back to it. But one thing I heard you said that triggered something in my mind, when you're making that wish list, I know my wife and I have gone through 2 different types of phases. Well, actually 3 technically. We wanted the new build. We just want to pick everything out, every color, every piece of carpet, all that kind of stuff. The second piece was she wanted to get her Chip and Joanna on. You know, she wanted to go in and do her, you know, what would you call it?
Get some shiplap in there.
Yeah, get some shiplap. You know, we went to the grays and whites, and you know, just completely took it all the way down to sheetrock. And that was enough to cause her to say she doesn't want to do that again.
Yeah.
So now, when she was looking at homes, she walked in, and her first consideration was, okay, for me to love this home, how much work am I going to have to put into it? Because she really wanted less. So those are things to kind of think about. Do you want a space that is workable for you, that you can then basically take down to the sheetrock and make the colors yours, the floor is yours, and yet you already saw the bones, right? Do you want that new builder where you start it from the ground up and you pick out everything from the brick color to the paint color? Or do you want that home that it'll fit you right now, and if you carpet 3 rooms and paint 2, it worked for you? And that's actually what our last one was. We walked in and she's like, I think we need carpet, and I'll do this room and your office and the color. I mean, that's all we did. So that's part of that consideration in the wish list as well, is really going, you know, what can we put into it? Because where I was also going with that is, what if you find that home that is in the right area and you walk into it and you're like, man, this floor plan fits us a ton, but I got some work to put into it, right?
Yeah.
But that might be the home that you might be able to get a little more value in on the buy side, right? So long term, it may end up being a great investment for you. That's something else also to consider.
Yeah. And I was at a house in Shadow Creek Estates the past couple of weekends, and was doing an open house there. And one of the most interesting conversations that I had with all the people that came through, all those families, was, hey, there's no media room, right? And I remember when we bought our house 10 years ago, and probably one of the things that moved us from Dallas up to Frisco, there was a few, right? Schools, et cetera. But one of them was like, wow, I got a media room. That's just awesome. I can't wait to get into there. So we bought the nice furniture, and we're in there about 4 or 5 times a year. So when I'm talking to some of these families that are coming through, I'm like, hey, look, here's a game room upstairs. You can put some blackout curtains. So the 4 or 5 times a year that you're actually up there watching a movie, right? Sleepovers, Super Bowls, whatever. Then you can close those curtains. You can get that kind of dark, let the TV kind of, pop and all that kind of stuff. And almost every single family I talked to said, yeah, we want a media room downstairs. So people like, even 2-story homes, people like being on the first floor.
Mhm.
Going upstairs, do you have all your sodas and chips? And, we got a little fridge out there, but still, it's not like, being able to walk 5 feet over into the kitchen.
That's hard to find too.
It really is. It really is. I've seen some homes that have that, but what I really thought was important was, hey, here's a family room downstairs. It overlooks the pool, but if we put in some blackout curtains here, then we can watch the movies, right? We can watch the sporting events, right? And then obviously, nice big living room to watch TV there. But if you really want to get that kind of media room effect, just 5, 6, 10 times a year when you're actually going to use it, then they have something on the first floor that they can utilize.
You get yourself a big event and have some fun and have some friends over.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So lots of things to consider when you're creating that wish list. Obviously, location. You're talking about the type of home, right? Architecture. Is it close to your jobs? Is it close to restaurants, right? Are you a foodie? Do you like to eat out a lot? Do you like to grill, right? What's your neighborhood? You want to drive through, right, the different times of the day, right? You want to be there during rush hour,
right.
Say, hey, what is it like in the morning on the way to school or work, and picking the kids up, right? What is that going to feel like? And then go through the neighborhood, right? Are these the people that you want to spend a lot of time with? Halloween, you're out trick-or-treating and stuff, right? I really love how some of these communities are really kind of building some cohesiveness, right? Lots of different activities.
Movie nights.
Everybody,
bringing everybody to the central.
Bringing out food trucks, right? And then you go out there and you see all your neighbors and everyone's kind of hanging out and chatting. So just kind of getting that energy and that sense of community from your neighborhood, I thought was something we're seeing a lot more of as well.
I do too. And actually, that used to be a thing. I mean, that you used to know all your neighbors. I had an aunt and uncle one time that they left their garage door open all the time because they didn't know if their neighbors would want to come over. And they just went from garage to garage to garage, come in there and reach in. Hey, I just grabbed a Coke, just letting you know we were out. Click them out. I mean, so that sense of community, you are seeing more of that come back, and the community events. And I mean, I hadn't thought about that myself until you just mentioned that, but I actually am seeing a lot more of that.
Yeah. And some of the kind of the community areas, the pools and the parks and the playscapes and stuff like that are really getting robust, right? I mean, obviously we've got Universal coming in, so you'll have everything you need there. But locally in your community, they're really putting a lot of investments into kind of the size and quality of some of these playscapes, and some of these pools,
lagoons even.
I mean, I'm kind of jealous. When my wife and I go walking, we walk in some of these other newer neighborhoods, right? We've been in ours for 10 years. And you look at their pools and you're like, wow, that is really nice. That's what I want. Can we redo ours, right? And we actually have a pool in our home, but I would love to go to the community pool and just kind of hang out. And again, just use that as a social event to kind of see some of your neighbors.
Yeah, I totally agree. The schools are a big deal. And evaluating those as you're taking a look and doing your comparative analysis. Sometimes the schools can actually have a long-term value effect, positive and negative, depending on, the ISD, like in Frisco. Frisco actually shares, let's put it this way. It shares its ISD with multiple townships. I mean, you got some of Prosper that goes to Frisco ISD, some of Allen, some of Plano, some of McKinney, some of Little Elm that, infringe on that Frisco ISD footprint. Knowing that actually can also have a lot to do with the future value of the homes, but I've seen it in other communities as well, just all over the North Texas area. And another thing that I've also seen is clients don't want to live, or have not clients, but some of them have not wanted to live in new construction areas to where there's going to be continued construction for an ongoing period of time. So where are some areas where you're not going to have to drive through that going to and from whatever it is you want to do? number one, for tire repairs. Number two, for future congestion, or if there is construction, are the roadways ready for it? Frisco, has grown by leaps and bounds since you moved up there. So, back in the year 2000, the tollway didn't even go past headquarters going north, and now it's going all the way up past Salina. So, just knowing what the future is going to look like, have an idea for how long you're going to want to be in that home is another idea. Those are all considerations to put into that. Because honestly, if there's a good chance you're going to want to be in this home for 3 to 5 years, and then there's a specific reason you're going to want to take that next step, whether you're going to be empty nesting or whether or not your kids will be more grown in that 3 to 5 time frame. That may make a decision on the house that you want to buy now, knowing you may either upgrade or downgrade based upon familial reasons just in the next few years. So all of that. It's fun. It's like painting a picture that you get to see in your mind. And yet it'll help you really zero in on knowing when you walk into that one house, this is for us. This is for me. This is where we're supposed to be. And you just have that comfortable feeling come over you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like to go back to the schools too, right? Because that's one of the reasons we moved to Frisco, right? Is we knew at one point we were going to have a kid. And at that point, what schools are they going to go to, right? So, had no intention to put our daughter in a private school, but we ended up doing that just because it's such a good private school. But all of the other high schools were exemplary, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of people move from Dallas to Frisco and starting a family. Everybody heads up north, right? Plano's kind of maxed out, right? Yep. So now everybody's up in Frisco and it's growing like a weed. Tons of good schools up there that cap out at 4A. They all get to play one of their football games at the Star, right? Jerry Jones Center up there. So when it comes to schools, Frisco obviously is one of the leads there.
So I actually have seen. In the clients that we've been working with so far, and just in 2023, I've actually had some folks, and I've even kind of lived it over the last few years ourselves, where we wanted to get a little further out. We wanted some acreage. We wanted to get out of the neighborhoods. And what you find is, unless you have the time to deal with the acreage, to deal with the extra commute time, it actually is counterproductive. And so what we've seen, and I'm even got a couple of clients, I talked to one even this morning for that matter, they're on the 5-acre thing and they're looking to go, you know what, our kids are gone. Maintenance is a big deal for me right now. I'm thinking about a townhome. What do you think about that, Brian? I'm like, hey, man, I hear you.
Zero lot line.
So don't want to have to mow that 5 acres and realizing that keeping up with everything that goes along with the 5 acres is not just the mowing. It's really, it can be time consuming. But then again, I do have some clients that literally their vision is they just want to get outside and breathe. We just helped a really sweet couple finance a property out in Caddo Mills. And their vision was literally, we've got to get out of Mansfield. We just got to get out. Mansfield's still growing by leaps and bounds. So there are those folks that still, they do want to go further out. They have, their employment allows them to have that flexibility. So that is really a piece of the pie is, what do you want your home property to look like?
Yeah. I mean, at one point I was wanting to move up to prosperous Salina and get a much bigger tract of land. But I'm the home office guy, right? And so my wife was like, you're not adding 15 minutes to my commute each way, right? And if you're in a real partnership, right, and that's what it should be. When you're finding a home, it's gotta make sense for everybody. And so even though I was going to be able to get more land, and again, I'm a dog lover, so it was one of the reasons I let the dogs kind of stretch their legs a little bit more. It was going to add at least 30 to 40 minutes of her commute daily, and not something that. Not something she was interested in doing. So being the home office guy who gets my commutes, as long as I don't bump into a chair or something, right? It's 2 minutes. So we kind of worked that, and then that's why we're still in Frisco. So love it there. But when you're looking for a home, create the list, be organized, have a magic folder, have a magic binder to keep all your information, to understand what the process is. Obviously, reach out to your lender, someone who's really going to be able to help you understand financially. This is where you should be looking. soft pulls, get the ball rolling, and then make sure you find a great realtor, someone who's going to take good care of you, put you in a position to succeed, and has organizational skills to make sure that you're going to be looking at homes that are really going to resonate with you and you can see yourself in forever.
And as you've gotten with the realtor partner and you've set up that criteria, your wish list criteria, and their search starts sending you potential homes, as you see any of those homes that are of potential interest to you, get with me. Give us the address of that home. Let us go do a financial workout for you. It's really simple for us to do. It's really quick for us to do. And yet it's so informative for you to have the actual physical numbers to see what the total payment's going to look like, to see what the total cash to close would look like, to see what loan programs are available for you on that individual property. We will do this for you on 3 homes or 300 homes. It really doesn't matter. If they're seeing those homes on your criteria, we've actually helped clients. We actually just right before the weekend, they took a 5-home list that they sent us off of the search from the realtor partner, and they narrowed it down to 2, and they put a contract in on one of them. But just because we ran the financial scenarios for them and talked to them about the loan programs and how it could be affected on one as opposed to another. So truly keeping us involved in the conversation, even before you're going to look at homes, can help you be totally comfortable with the fact that it's met your wish list criteria, and yet you know what the finances are going to look like all the way around, with total house payment, total, tax and insurance included, and total cash to close, which is a very important piece of the pie.
Right. So make a list, make sure everybody agrees on it, and then make sure you're aligned with a great realtor to take care of you and somebody who on the financial piece is really going to set you up for success, potentially with 30 years of experience.
Yep. Glad to do it.